Chris and his girlfriend Rose head upstate for the weekend so Chris can meet Rose's family, the very wealthy and very white Armitages. As the trip unfolds, Chris wrestles with what he is feeling. Is he welcome here, or is there something sinister going on? Is he feeling discomfort or dishonesty? How far will Chris go down the rabbit hole before he can no longer get out?
Welcome to Movie Friends. My name is Seth.
And my name's Michelle.
Today we're talking about Get Out from 2017. Written and directed by Jordan Peele. Cinematography by Denson Baker and Toby Oliver. Composed by Michael Abels. Edited by Gregory Plotkin. Costume design by Nadine Haders. Starring Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Lil Rel Howery, Bradley Whitford, Catherine Keener, and Caleb Landry Jones. Michelle, how's it going?
What's going on, Seth?
Not much. We're here, we're white, and we're talking about Get Out.
Wow. I mean, those are all facts. So
I'm just stating the facts right now.
well said. Well said. Starting with facts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are.
I've been
Talking about
listening
Get
to a
Out.
lot of podcasts about Get Out.
Really? I haven't done any of that.
And as soon as an episode starts and it's just three white guys, I say, nope.
Yeah. Nope was another movie, right? By
I'm
Jordan
so
Peele.
glad you picked up on that joke.
That's what I'm here for.
I say, I'm trying to make another joke with his other movie, Us. I can't do it. Anyway, last episode, we ended on a cliffhanger with your cat. How's your cat Soli doing?
Soli, thank you so much for asking. And for all that are wondering, thank you so much for your thoughts and prayers because I know you sent them out. However, we did not receive a review. So the cat is still dying. And my day has not gotten better because I have not received a review.
Yeah.
But Soli, she is responding well to the med cocktail she's on. And
Good.
so she's eating more and she's definitely walking around more and acting more of herself. So for now, things are okay.
Awesome. If you're
Yeah.
just tuning in for the first time, Michelle has a cat that is 19 years old.
Yeah, my Soli girl. Yeah.
Crazy.
And she has cancer and her kidneys are failing and she's anemic. So, comes with age,
Sure.
but still doesn't hurt any less.
Right.
Yeah.
So normally we have some emails to read, but we're recording kind of off schedule. And so we
Yeah.
don't. Womp womp.
Wow.
So since we didn't have any emails, did you have any dreams?
Oh, I love that. You know what? Actually, Seth, this is a great
Dream mails?
dream mail. This is really good segue because we got I got a funny like throwback post from 9 years ago on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it was Seth commenting on my wall that said, "Yo, are we doing this?"
Oh, yeah.
And I responded with, "Yeah." And so I sent
Yeah.
it to Seth and I was like, "Nothing's changed. But
9
what were
years.
we talking about?" And then
Mhm.
our friend Krista chimed in and she said, "I bet it was for Seth to come on your In Your Dreams podcast. Rest in peace. That was a podcast I had."
Yeah, great show.
It was a really good show, but that's probably what it was. You were coming on my podcast to talk
Yep.
about your dreams.
I remember. And I remember I didn't tell you that I was allergic to cats.
No, you did
And
not. No, you did not.
so if you could find that episode and listen to it, you would hear me talking. And just as the episode goes on, I'm getting like more and more sick, like
Yeah.
hard to breathe.
I remember we sat you on a hard chair very much away from us in the middle of
Yeah.
the room.
Yeah.
And as soon as it ended, you're like, "I gotta go." And you ran out.
Yeah. I just left. Yeah.
And that was it. But have you had any dreams?
I actually had a dream about our friends, Trent and Betsy. They
Wow.
hosted the show Never Seen It with Betsy and Trent.
Yes.
And I had a dream that we were driving in a van and we were on our way to record a podcast episode. And we were
Yeah.
going to like someone else's house, all three of us were going to be guests on this other person's show. And Betsy and Trent were like so excited, and we're talking about different things and what we're going to talk about. And they're coming up with joke ideas. And then we get to the house, and the person didn't know that I was bringing two other guests. And so they were like, oh, this was really just like a show for you and me. And then they brought out boxing gloves and they started like punching me. And I was like, wait, this is the show? And they're like, yeah, this is what the show's about. Here's your boxing gloves. And so I put them on and I was like, I really don't want to do this. And like Betsy and Trent were like in the foyer, kind of like waiting, like, Seth, what's going on? Anyway, that was my dream.
Wow, you're taking on too much.
Oh, no. That's your interpretation?
Yep, and you want to be a part of it, but you're taking on too much.
Okay, so I gotta cut Betsy and Trent loose, is what you're saying.
No, I think Betsy and Trent are just figures for everybody in your life, i.e., me, and they were the icon
Wait,
for it,
now you're internalizing this.
as always. Anyway, let me
Well,
tell you about my dream. After I watched Get Out, I have this dream that I'm trying to get on Good Morning America to do improv with Jordan
mm,
Peele and Keegan Michael Key. And
amazing.
they choose me, and I'm not funny, and they don't laugh at all, and it's
Oh
like
no.
silent, and they're super frustrated with picking me, and I was so sad.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah, and I texted you, and I was because I was like, I don't know who else to tell this to, and I was like, Seth, Jordan Peele and Keegan Michael Key do not think I'm funny. Awful. It was like a nightmare, honestly.
That isn't we both had nightmares
Yeah. Yeah.
about a Get Out podcast.
That's right. That's right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that we're bringing some like subconscious white guilt into this discussion?
Probably. Now I do.
Okay.
Let me
Well,
internalize that.
let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
So before Michelle watches a film for the first time, she records her pre-watch thoughts. So let's go to that real quick.
Get out of here. Pre-watch thoughts. I don't know much. I know it's a horror comedy, apparently. Who I've spoken to about this movie and told them that we were watching it. Everyone that I've spoken to said they really liked it. But then they kind of gave me the look of, ooh, Michelle, it's kind of scary. Are you sure you want to do this? And Anthony has seen it. He really liked it. He didn't think it was that scary because I was worried, like, is this not like a close to 8 p.m. type of movie? Does this need to be an 8 a.m. type of movie? And didn't seem too concerned with it. So we shall see how I feel.
I think it's kind of funny that everyone was like, "Oh, Michelle, are you sure you want to watch this movie because it's so scary?" How did that change like your anticipation for watching the movie?
Like I said in my pre-watch thoughts, everybody was like, "You're gonna be scared." Like, "Are you sure you want to watch this?" And then Aunt was like, "It's not that scary. You'll be fine." And
Yeah.
as the night went on, like we didn't start watching this until like 8:30, and I'm like, "Aunt, it's getting late." Like I everyone's saying I can't watch this type of movie, and he's like, "You're gonna be fine." And I trust
Yeah.
Aunt because Aunt knows my threshold, and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
his too, as you know. Aunt, as we've
Well,
learned,
yes.
Aunt can't do a lot.
Going
Jennifer's
back to the
Body and all
Parasite episode and
Parasite, Jennifer's
yeah,
Body, all the things.
Aunt
He's like
Squirmy.
worse. He's like worse than me. And so I was like, okay. So yeah, I was fine. And then the dream I had was just not being funny around Jordan Peele and Keegan Michael Key. So that was my nightmare. So
Right.
right.
So did you find this scary?
I found it. I mean, yeah, right. I mean, it's creepy, but I wasn't
Yeah.
like internally creeped out and scared to go to sleep. I actually
Right.
I I understand that it is listed as horror comedy. Is that
Yeah.
correct? But to me, it had sci-fi vibes.
Definitely. Absolutely.
And I'm sure we'll get to it, but I looked at Ant. I'm like, this is a sci-fi movie. This is
Yep.
like thrill thriller, horror, sci-fi.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I watched some interviews with Jordan Peele, and if you listened to last week's episode, House Party, shout out to House Party, great movie, great
So
episode.
fun. Yeah.
I said I have not been a Get Out lover, and so I really wanted to give this a shot and really listen to Jordan Peele and listen to other people's interpretations. And I didn't want to just be like, this is how I feel about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan Peele said, in terms of the genre, he says, one, it's defying genre. And two, he was like, what I said is it's the genre of truth. He's like, comedy has to have parts that are true, and horror has to have parts that are true. Both of those things have to exist, you know, for something to be funny or for something to be scary. And so he was like, Get Out is, he was like, at first I called it a social thriller. He's like, but now I just say that it's the truth.
Mm. Yeah.
I think a lot of sci fi has horror or at least scary or creepy elements to it. And
Yeah.
so I think once the mystery is revealed, it's definitely more sci fi than horror.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you felt differently this time around.
I felt so differently this time around. This is probably the third time that I've seen it. I watched it when it came out. We went to see it in theaters. I remember seeing the trailer for this and just being like, the dude from Key and Peele, a horror movie, creepy Catherine Keener. Like, yes, like they show that whole like sink into the floor thing in the
Yeah.
trailer. And it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely going to see this one. And I left very impressed, but also just like, this movie has so many plot holes and like weird stylistic choices that I felt were weird and out of
Mm.
place. And
Mm-hmm.
then I rewatched it and felt the same way. And then I just left it alone. And I've left it alone until now.
Wow. And it never made you want to research it upon those past two
Nope.
watches. Like,
Nope.
let me
Not
figure out
really.
why I'm feeling this way. I want to
No.
hear other
No.
people's opinions. No, you left it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And I'm glad to report that all the problems that I had with it, for the most part, kind of have been answered by looking into it.
Okay.
And so I kind of feel like all the problems that I had with the movie were just me.
Right. I mean, that can
Yeah.
definitely, I've been there for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to exploring that. I want to hear what you had a problem with and how you found the answer and it's got solved.
Yeah. 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 I'm curious for you, you know, you watched it for the first time. How far into it did Allison Williams' character fool you?
Up until he found the box, Chris found the box. So it took a while.
Me too. Like really, even when he found the box and he's looking at all the pictures, I was like, okay. Like what is this? What is this? Is it still the family? Is it her? Because she's acting, right? Like right up
Mm-hmm.
until she pulls the keys out. And when she pulled the
Mm-hmm.
keys out the first time watching it, I was like, oh my God, they're all bad.
They're all bad. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but up until the box and we see Georgie as a picture with her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then I was like, "Ooh,
Yep.
okay, we are turning. We are turning."
Yep. With all twist movies, watching it for the second time, you're just like looking for all the clues and everything. And for me, after finding out some massive like structural elements to the movie that I had no idea about, it completely changed how I viewed the movie. So the first thing I want to mention is on the commentary for this movie, Jordan Peele goes into the rich people, the Armitages and everybody are part of a secret society called the Red Alchemist Society, which are descendants of the Knights Templar who, through the use of science and magic, are trying to find the Holy Grail or the power of the Holy Grail to like live forever.
Yeah, this was a whole added layer
I-
that I wasn't aware of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I had never heard this before. And then hearing him talk about it and seeing all the clues for that, I was like, oh my God, all of the things that I was like, well, why would they do it this way? And why are there candles in an operating room?
Right.
Like,
I was like,
all-
ambiance.
well, right. You look at that, not
Yeah.
knowing all of that backstory. That's a huge backstory, right?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, that's dumb. Like, that's stupid. Like, that's not. But then when you know that part of it, and like it goes more into the sci-fi fantasy, and like
Yeah.
we leave just a normal slasher, then it's like, oh man, there's so much more to this movie. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was like a huge piece of the puzzle for me this time around.
Now, you found that article before or after your rewatch, your current rewatch? Or, man,
That
listen
was
to the
after.
commentary. Listen to the commentary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was after my first one.
Okay. And then you
Yeah.
went and rewatched it again, knowing that
Yeah.
information.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
And yeah,
Hmm.
like I said, the majority of it all makes sense now. Like my big
Yeah.
problem with the movie was, okay, if you're just taking black bodies to put white brains inside of, why is Rose spending so much time with them? Right? Like Rod finds them because Chris has been contacting Rod. Rod knows where he is, all that stuff, right? Like Rod is able to put the pieces together. And
Right.
so why are they risking all of that if you can just hypnotize people or hit them over the head and drag them to your car? Like, why go through all that process?
You mean Rose?
Yeah,
Like,
Rose.
why specifically is Rose seeking out Chris?
Well, why is she dating these guys for months and months?
Well, money, power, her family. Clearly, she's hypnotized too.
You think
She's
so?
under the family spell. Well, for Chris, the gallery owner was out for him, right?
Well, right. And so right, and that's what
Right.
I realized I was missing was like she's not just finding random people.
No.
Later on in the movie, she's searching like top basketball players. Like part of what they're doing isn't just like, oh, let's just take random black men. They're
Right.
finding people who are very talented or like who have like the blind art dealer says, like he wants his eye, not just his eyes, but he wants like his
Mm-hmm.
ability to do
Mm-hmm.
something, which is like a whole other layer of the whole type of racism that we're talking about in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was like my big problem with it. And now I don't really feel that way.
Good.
Yeah,
I didn't have a
like I get
problem
it.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like once a lot of the big stuff kind of came into view for me, I was like, "Oh, it's sci-fi. I don't need to watch Star Wars and say light speed would never happen. It's sci-fi." So some of the finer details to how this all works, it's like, "Oh, well, that's what happens in the story, and so that's what happens."
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
I see what you
it
mean.
doesn't need to be realistic.
No. I didn't have many of those issues that you had. For me, I was very uncomfortable with the whole, like a lot of the sounds, and mostly with Missy, the mother, when she's hypnotizing, and the actual sound of the spoon in the cup. Like, that was so triggering to me.
Yeah.
I wanted it was like nails going down a chalkboard. And so, because that was a part of a lot of the hypnotizing scenes and going to the dark place, the sunken place, I like couldn't pay attention because I was
Wow.
so fixated on the sound.
Wow.
So that actually fits with this type of movie.
Yeah.
It's just an added experience I don't know if I needed, but it added to it.
Wow. Wow. You were going to
Yeah.
your own sunken place.
It's my own sunken place. I was really like, I was telling him, I'm like, I don't even know what's, he's like, this is a really important part right now. I'm like, all I hear,
Oh
I can't.
no.
And I'm like, as I'm talking to Seth right now, guys, like, I look like Chris in the chair and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. That sound was really very irritating.
Wow. Okay.
It
All
made
right.
my teeth hurt. I wanted to gouge my eyes out with a fork.
Got it. Got it. All right. How did you feel about all of the awkward racist social interactions in this movie?
Yeah, I mean, you feel they're awkward, exactly how you said it. Like you just make that like you grimace face, that emoji is just like, oh, you want to
Mm-hmm.
melt and ugh, it's so uncomfortable. You're like, fucking white people, man.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking worst.
Yeah, and like when Bradley Whitford
Ugh,
says, and I don't even want to say it,
ugh,
but I'm
God.
going to. Do
Yep.
you know what I'm going to say?
About the Obama.
No. The
Okay.
Obama thing I think is funny.
Mm-hmm.
When he says, "How long has this thing been happening?"
Oh, I don't know if I picked up on that, but
Oh
thank you.
my God. It's horrible. It's like when they first get there and he's like,
No, no, yeah.
how long is this thing? And I'm like, please, please. Like,
Yeah.
I want to die. It's
Yeah.
it's it's horrible.
Yeah.
Ooh. Jordan Peele said, he wanted to make a horror movie that he hadn't seen and was like the movie that he wanted to see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, for me, it was that scene of all the white people coming up to Chris one after another at the party. And like to them, it might just be like one little thing, right? But to a black person, you're experiencing it throughout the night
Yeah.
over and over and over and over from every person that you're interacting with. Their like only way of interacting with you is through race.
Right. Right.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a really great line. He said, a lot of people like to say that black people are obsessed with race. And he's like, we're not obsessed with race. Race is obsessed with us.
Yes.
And he said, white people get to just like go about their day and exist, but black people have to at all times be checking and clocking everything that's happening around them
Mm-hmm.
because you have this sense of like, am I in danger? Is this person racist? Why are they talking to me this way?
Yeah.
All of those different things. And so he used that to fuel this horror story. A lot of horror movies depend on the person that the horror is happening to not sure about how they feel. Because if the person knew right away, they the movie would end.
Right.
This movie is based on partially a comedy bit from Eddie Murphy where he says, white people stay in the house after they know that there are ghosts there. he was like, he's like, if a black person was in the house and the ghost said, "Get out," they would leave, right? And I'm
Yeah.
absolutely destroying this Eddie
Right. Right.
Murphy
Right.
bit. My
Yeah.
apologies to Mr. Murphy. And so Chris, once he does know, like once he knows, he does leave. Like he tries to get out and he tries to leave. But everything up until then is him like second guessing, like, am I reading too much into this?
Well, sure. Like, can I? It's only a weekend, right? So, can I
Yeah.
like make it just another day? And then when we
Yeah.
finally tell Rose, like, have that moment, and then it's like, and she's on board, it's like, okay, I'm not going crazy.
Yeah.
This isn't all in my head. And she supports
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's an even better point that he's making is like, the whole idea of like white liberal allyship, right? Of like, hey, I understand, like I hear you, but really you're just kind of like waiting around to betray them. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's bad. And it's something that you and I can't understand. I feel like
That's
we
right.
can get it. Like I get it. I
The
get
fe-
what he's saying.
right.
I get that like the horror that he experiences every day, he turns that into a horror movie. And so I can watch it and squirm in my seat, but I can't necessarily watch it and point to it and be like, oh yeah, I've experienced that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally different point of view.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Totally.
Unfortunately, the point of view that you and I are left with is the Bradley
uh,
Whitford and
yeah.
Caleb Landry Jones of it
Oh
all.
my God, Jeremy.
Dude,
Oh, dude. He was
how'd you
so
feel
intense
about
right off
Jeremy?
the bat. Like right
Yeah.
off the bat. You know, and
Yeah.
at first things are awkward, but at least we're having like a family dinner. It's like, oh, we're adding a sibling in, which could be good or bad, right? Can like lighten the mood. But
Sure.
he's so intense and he just wants to talk about fighting. And he's like, with your stature and your build. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
please, someone take this
Doesn't he
kid
say
away.
with your, he says something about his genes or something?
Yeah. It, mm,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
I love Caleb Landry Jones. Like
Do I know
whenever
him
he's
from
in
anything?
something.
I meant to look him up, but probably not. He was giving and I'm drawing a blank, but from Game of Thrones.
Ramsey.
Ramsey, yes, he was giving me Ramsey vibes. Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's like, get this guy out of here.
Did you ever see The Social Network?
Yeah. But do I remember
Okay.
it? No.
He's got a he's got a part in that movie, but
Oh, okay.
he's great. Everything I've
Yeah.
seen him in, he's really great, very exciting to watch. And in this movie, man, oh man, just such a freaking creepy weird guy.
I mean, he does a great job. He's
Yeah,
portraying it really well and creeping me out. So props to Caleb, but ooh,
yeah. And it's
gotta go,
cool
man.
because the family kind of shows like 4 different like racist ways of interacting with
Mm-hmm.
black people, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like so aggressive and he's so violent.
Yeah.
And Dean is more like, hey man, I get it. Like, I get it, man. Look, hey, I've traveled the whole world, hey,
Ugh.
I got these candlesticks in this place, and I would have voted for Obama 3 times. And then you have the mom who's like, I know a word to describe her, but I'm she's
What's the
just not
word?
cool. She's just not cool. How she critiques him for smoking and how that's like hurting her daughter. And
Yeah, that was awkward, right?
yeah.
I didn't
But
like
it
that.
makes more sense when you know the whole story, because they don't want him to
Sure.
smoke because this body
Sure.
is going to somebody else, right?
Sure. Yep. Yep.
I like that the racism in this movie isn't just black and white. Hey, we're white and we hate you and we want to like kill you. Because we've
Mm-hmm.
seen that a lot. We've seen that so
Mm-hmm.
many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is so much more involved. They're literally willing to like live in these bodies.
Well, wait, what do you mean? Go further on that.
Like the white people, if the racism was just we hate black people, they
Yes.
wouldn't be
Okay.
looking for black bodies to move into. But the value of the life inside that body is at 0.
Right.
All
Right.
they want is what the body can do and the talents that that person has. And so then you look at, how does society treat black people, and what are the black people that we invite into our lives? Are they entertainers? Are they sports stars? Are we only willing to kind of like coexist when we get something out of our relationship with them?
Well, sure. And if we're able to control them, because
And
we're
yes,
only
that's
going to bring them in to the ones we
right.
can control.
Exactly. Yes. And you hit the nail on the head
Yeah.
perfectly. Yes. Because if they don't stay in their place, which is, the sunken place, if they don't stay there, then
Right.
there's repercussions. And
Right.
yeah, it's so smart. Like,
Yeah. It
it's
really
it's
is.
so, and looking at all of those things, it's really no surprise that this won Best Original Screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one person write that he wrote 200 versions of this script over several years. I don't know if that's possible, but he talked about how long like the gestation period was, and like putting all of the symbolism in. Like the whole idea of the Red Alchemist Society. Her name is Rose. Her car is red. Everyone who is white in the film, they all wear red. Chris never wears red. Also, between Chris and Rose, they're often making the American flag colors, red, white, and blue.
Whoa.
Yeah, all the stuff with the
Mm.
deer and like Chris's
Mm-hmm.
mom. Like when he goes to leave and he hits Georgina and then he's like, I have to go back and check.
Well, yeah.
Part of that is because he didn't go out looking for his mom when she got hit by a car.
Right. Right.
All like,
Yeah.
and so it's like airtight. Like all of the stuff that I thought was just scattered style isn't. It's actually all laid out
Very
to
calculated.
very, very calculated. Yeah.
Yeah. When did you pick up on Dre? Because we start the movie with Dre.
Yes. No, I didn't. I didn't. My first time, I didn't know that that was the same dude.
Yeah. And the only reason is because of captions. Because in the beginning,
Right.
they're like
Yeah.
Dre, right?
Yeah.
And then when we meet him again and we hit the Dre, I was like, oh my God.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, when he's on the
Yeah.
when Chris is telling Rod.
Yeah. And he's
Yeah.
played by Lakeith Stanfield, who's like awesome. He's another guy that's like everything that he's in, awesome. He's got a great role in Uncut Gems. Sorry to bother you. He's very exciting. And when I saw this in theaters, it was just like the beginning felt so disconnected. Like I didn't get how, and like again, that just kind of went over my head.
Yeah. I was waiting for us to go back to that. I'm like, who is
Yeah.
this person? When is
Right.
this coming in? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
That scene originally was like a lot different. It was much longer. It was more involved. There was a whole scene with like a white family who was in one of the houses. And while everything is happening outside, they're like planning a trip to Disney World or something. And so he changed it like when they were shooting. He was like, yeah, like, this isn't working or I don't know, whatever. And so they changed
Yeah.
it to that. And I think I would like to see that other version. Um, to see how much humor he injects into it, which I know sounds really dark, but like this movie is legitimately funny a lot of the way through it. Like there's a lot of parts of this where it's like you can tell that this is a comedy writer who is doing it.
Yeah, but Rod is the comedic thread.
Definitely. He feels like relief,
Yeah.
Like when we
Yeah.
get to him, it's like, "Oh, okay, I can kind of
We know
like
what we're getting.
relax." Yeah, a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Chris, Daniel Kaluuya, how'd you feel?
He's great. I mean, I feel like he did a great job of us like being on the journey with him. And
Mhm.
like we talked about of when we first meet him going on this vacation for the weekend with Rose and even establishing when they're driving and the deer hits the car
Yeah.
and the cop has to come. And she's like, and the cop asks for not only her ID, but his ID. And she's like, why are you asking for that? He wasn't driving.
Yeah.
And just so it was like establishing that relationship. And then when you think about it, like right there, it kind of also ties into like how she is. Like now I'm like trying to rethink all of the,
Well, right, because she doesn't want for
she
Chris's
doesn't want,
ID
right.
to be in the police report because she's
That's right.
kidnapping black dudes.
Exactly. Exactly. How'd you feel about him?
He's great. I just had a thought that I didn't think
Yeah.
of prior to this. How much of that deer do you think is
Yeah.
trying to stop and warn Chris?
Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about like, what is that
Yeah.
stamp? Like, what is the point of that deer? What
Yeah.
is
Because
it?
so the
Yeah.
opening song, it's sung in Swahili. The lyrics translate to brother run, listen to the elders, listen to the truth, run away, save yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm wondering like how much of that, yeah, just how much of that deer was like trying to stop him from
Like, this is a
making it to the
sign
house.
you need to turn
Right.
around.
Yeah.
Don't go
Because it's the
further.
deer that he uses to kill Dean later on.
Right.
Huh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think he's great. Daniel Kaluuya is great. He's British.
Hmm.
I don't
We
know
all
if you
know how
know
you feel
that.
about the Brits.
Well,
So I'm
yes, but I'm
surprised
just
that
his accent work in this
Okay.
movie is like incredible. You would never know that he's like a British dude, right?
No. He makes the pass for Seth. Good to know.
One British person only. It's Daniel
That's right.
Kaluuya.
That's it.
He's great. He apparently got the part for being able to do the single tear 5 times in a
Ooh.
row in his audition.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, they ran through that scene and uh they said at the same moment every time in the audition, the single tear would come out of his eye. Can you
How do you
imagine
do
being
that?
like that
How
in
do you do
control?
that?
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
didn't know you could control your tears like that.
Yeah, there's like a viral video going around right now of Bryce Dallas Howard and she's like talking. You've probably seen it. It's been remixed so many times. She's like, "I'm not upset. I'm not. Uh, I'm just talking normally. Blah blah blah." But like, she's like starting to cry. Like as she's explaining it, she's like, "I'm not. I'm not upset. This is all just technical, and you think that I'm upset, and I'm not upset." And she's like crying as it's happening. So yeah, you
I
can learn how to do it.
I mean, I can understand crying and making yourself cry, but controlling one single tear?
Hey, hey,
That's a superpower.
he's Daniel Kaluuya, man. He can do anything.
Wow.
But I love him in
That
this. He's such a good mix of like cool, funny. His paranoia doesn't come across as like, dude, come on, like get it together. I think from the beginning, because of the um I want to be careful to not say like, oh, it's just awkward. It's not just awkward. Like there is racism built into everything that is
yeah.
said in those
Yeah.
awkward interactions. But like because we're so on edge just like from the beginning, I I think even though like Chris is having to question whether or not what he's feeling is right, I don't think we at any point are questioning that he's wrong about what he's
No.
feeling.
No, no, no.
Yeah. Like as soon as they're there, you're like, man, Dean is like, yeah, we had to close off the basement for black mold. And he's talking about how he wants to kill all the deer population because they're running amok. And I'm just like, dude, you need to leave. Like
I mean,
right
even just them
now.
driving up and we see Walter and then Georgina in the
Yeah.
house. They're like,
Yeah.
something's not
Yeah.
right here.
How did you feel about Walter and Georgina?
I mean, they were creepy before we
Yeah.
know their story. So I
Yeah.
think they both did a great job, but Georgina probably gave me the jumps the most
Hmm.
of just when we would like show her looking out the window or just standing in
Yeah.
the kitchen. I was like, yeah. Or the whole, or even when she unplugs his phone and
Yeah.
she's like, I
Yeah.
didn't mean to do it. And he
Yeah.
has that very close conversation with her. And she just like has the tears and she breaks. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
It's so funny watching it the second time and realizing that what the actors are doing in that performance is they're just pretending to be old white people,
Mm-hmm.
and that is like the scariest thing on earth. Like you watch it again and you're like, oh, he's not being weird, he's just an old white man. And then you're like, oh, maybe that's scary, maybe that is
It,
actually kind of weird. And same thing with Georgina when she's like, no, 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 no. It's like, oh yeah, okay, old white people are
mm-hmm.
creepy.
Yeah, grandma. Ooh.
Because before you know, you think there's something off, you think there's something wrong, it's like,
Yeah.
like what is this?
Well, to me, I just thought they all were hypnotized.
Yeah.
Because once
Mhm.
we learn that Missy, that's what she does,
Yeah.
I thought Dre was hypnotized. I mean, they are in a way. And Walter and Georgina, I was like, okay, so she's like deep into some, we got real
Right.
control here.
Right.
But obviously, it's
And it's a
deeper than that with.
good, it's not like a switcheroo, but like it's a good setup because you think you know what's going on.
That's right. That's right.
And then you get down into the basement and you're like, oh, there's a whole other
Yeah.
thing going on that I never
Right. When
could
like
have seen coming.
Yeah, when the scalp is being,
Oh
sliced, I was like, "Oh, okay. Oh,
my
this is all right. We're going
Yeah.
here."
Yeah. So how did you feel about Rose, Allison Williams?
Yeah. She did a great job.
Yeah.
She annoyed me a
Uh-huh.
lot,
Okay.
but that's her doing a really good job, and I don't
Yeah.
wanna knock Allison Williams, and I did tell you this on the side, but she played Marnie in Girls, and her character really annoyed me in that show, and so I was trying not to be like, make the comparison. I hate to do that. But
Sure.
I think Allison was very good in this role. She just gives me, she was doing what she was supposed to do. So I have to give her
Right.
that.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I believed her. She
Yeah.
feels like, okay, who does Chris talk to about all this stuff, right? He can't talk to the other black people around because what
Mhm.
is going on with them? It's like, pod people kind of a
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
He talks with Rod and then he talks with Rose. And so you feel like, okay, this is a character that he trusts, that he's bouncing ideas off of. And she might just not know what her parents are like doing or what they're into. At one point, Rod says it's an eyes wide shut situation, which have you seen Eyes Wide Shut?
Mm-mm.
It's about secret cults and yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I thought that was really funny, but I was like, well, she probably just doesn't know. Like she lives in the city and who knows how old they are and how long it's
Right.
been since she's been home and you know. And one of the things Peel talked about was like taking away the safety net of the white savior.
Mhm.
And he was like, something that you couldn't do up until Get Out is make mixed couples a bad thing. He was like, if you have a mixed couple in a Hollywood production, they have to be like the cool people, right?
Yeah.
And so you bring that into this movie and you're like, yeah, she's on his side, of course, right? And everybody is, the white savior thing is like that's been done 10,000 times by now. And so he was like, I wanted to take that away so that you look at it and you're like, oh, they're all bad. Like there's no one on his side and like he has to save himself and it's great. And I can't you can probably imagine what reading through the half star reviews for this movie was like.
Mhm.
I
Can
was
only
pretty
imagine.
surprised at just how open people were on their feelings about this
Really.
movie. Yeah, and a lot of people just saying like, "Oh, this is white people are bad the movie." And it's like
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to like how do you feel about that? Like how did you feel watching this movie like in that sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. I was like, white people suck.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, yeah. My gosh. I felt uncomfortable, and that was the point. And also,
Right.
this is like a truth that's not, again, like we said, we have a very different perspective. Like, we can understand it, but we'll never feel it. And
Yeah, yeah,
so,
yeah,
and
yeah.
we've definitely been around, we're around it too. It's being like a white person.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
I think
yeah.
where we kind of retreat into like, well, what are we supposed to do? Is like anyone comes into your midst that you are like so clearly different from,
Hmm.
no matter what it is, no matter what it
Hmm.
is,
Hmm.
you want to relate to that person. Like
Sure.
in your heart, you're like, oh, I want to make this person feel welcome. I want to make them feel part of the conversation. And so your brain does this thing where you relate to them in like the only way that you know how. And so you're like, hey, I met Tiger Woods,
Oh, God.
you know? And I'm not
Yeah.
justifying it. It's a
No, I hear
shameful,
you.
crazy
Yeah.
thing that we think we can't just talk to a person as if they're a
Mm,
person.
right.
So you have to try to be like, okay, what do I know? And I mean, this could go for anything. Like you and I have talked about it before on the show. We're not gay. Like we're two straight people you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're half Jewish, I'm half Mexican. The other half is white. We grew up on Long Island. We're not
Yeah.
exactly the most marginalized people on earth.
Right.
And so anytime anyone, your brain is just going through like, okay, how can I relate to this person? But the dumb
Yeah.
way that it comes out is, racist and awkward and not enjoyable for the other person. And
It's
I
true.
like that this movie exists to show it so plainly and clearly, in a funny way, in a truthful way, in a scary way, so that you can maybe stop and be like, huh, have I ever said to someone, black is in fashion?
Oh my God.
Have I ever asked a person to recount the experience of the African American in America today? Like,
Yeah, that
have
one.
I, you,
That was,
you know?
yeah. No, it's very
Yeah.
true. Ask yourself these questions.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think if you can't, you're just totally blind.
Well, that you don't think there's a problem.
Right. And if you don't think there's a problem, there probably
There's a
is.
problem. There's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. You might
Yeah.
not be Caleb Landry Jones,
But
but yeah,
adjacent.
adjacent. Yeah. 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 How'd you feel about Rose eating her cereal
That scene was so good.
one
Where
piece
she's
at a time?
listening, where she's listening to music and she's
Mm-hmm.
just like in her trance and all
She's
the things are
listening to
happening.
um
I've had the time of my life, right?
I've had the time of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Had
had
the
the
time
time
of
of Wednesday.
my...
I thought it was great. I actually really, really loved that scene. I'm glad you brought it up.
So creepy.
It's so creepy, but it's so good. She's just in her
Yep.
tip of my computer, headphones in,
Looking for the next
drinking
Chris.
milk.
Drinking milk.
Yeah.
Are you a milk drinker?
I am not a milk
Yeah.
drinker. I've never been one. What about you?
We've talked about this before. I drink milk when I eat something sweet,
Oh yeah, that's right.
and people
Weirdo.
find that weird. I never knew that was weird before.
It's weird, man. Like what grown adult is like, yeah, let me get like a glass of milk.
No, well, I drink from the milk carton.
Oh my god. Get out.
Get out.
Get out.
You don't drink from the milk carton?
No, my sister does.
Yeah.
She's always been a carton drinker.
Yeah.
I think
Why
there's two
dirty a
people.
glass?
There's two people. There's people who drink from the carton, and then there's people who don't drink milk.
Well, I think when you're a kid, you learn how to not backwash.
Yeah,
You
you
know?
hope. You hope.
Well, you do, and then the whole world opens up to you. You can drink out of anything.
Are you a whole milk, skim milk, 2%, nut
I
milk?
grew up on skim milk because
Yeah,
it
I
was the
did too.
90s and we thought it was healthy.
That's right.
And then when I went away to school at 18, they only had whole milk, and
Uh-huh.
I had such a hard time adjusting. It was like too rich and crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after that, I've tried going back to skim, and I can't. So I'm a whole milk guy now.
Your whole household is
Yep.
whole milk?
It's all
Wow.
whole milk here. But I'm not drinking milk with dinner.
Yeah.
Like when I see people drink milk with spaghetti and meatballs, I'm like, hey, can you go jump
Who
off a
still
cliff,
does
please?
that, by the way? If you do, please send us an email.
Please don't. I
Please.
don't want to lose respect for you.
I want to know. Or you could just like DM me, or you could tweet it at Seth, and then Seth will tell me because that's how we work Twitter.
Yeah. Someone asked Peel if the cereal and the milk being separate was like symbolic of her like separating, right?
Mhm.
And he was like, no, I just wanted to make her seem extremely creepy and weird. And that was like something that you
That's
see
how
and you're
I
like,
took it.
that's wrong. That's really
That's
wrong.
wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Real weird.
But at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to lie to you. As I was watching that scene, I was like, I can see this being a Michelle thing.
It's not
Not
the
this
worst.
specific thing, but just like, yeah, I take a single bite of cereal and then I take a single sip of milk.
Well, you know what? I do that with pretzels and like a bubbly beverage.
Okay.
So I love to put like a pretzel nugget in and
Mm-hmm.
then a sip of a bubbly beverage, let them party for a little bit,
Ooh,
suckle on it like a hard
I can't.
candy, and then we go again, one at a
Yeah.
time.
My
So,
wife
okay.
is a big like food in the mouth and then take a swig of something person.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
I've tried to do that so that I can better understand and relate to her, and I can't. I
It
have to completely vacate my mouth, then take a drink, vacate my mouth, then take a bite. There's no mixing of liquids and solids in my mouth.
I'm very particular on what solids and liquids will mix in my mouth
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I want to talk about Missy and the Sunken Place and hypnotism, if we can.
As long as you
You
don't
said that
stir a spoon in the cup,
this was very triggering for you.
we can
Have you
talk
ever been
about it.
hypnotized?
I haven't, and I'm curious if it would work on me.
Would you like to try?
I would.
Okay.
Are you going to
Are
do
your
it?
headphones Bluetooth?
No.
How much room do you have on those?
On my headphones?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like how much room? How much room do you have? How far can you walk wearing those?
Oh, are you going to like hypnotize me right now? You want me to get up away from the mic?
No. No.
Okay.
But like how far can you move? How much give do you have on those?
Not much.
Okay. All right, we can do it sitting down. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes
Okay.
and I want you to hear the sound of my voice, and I want you to know that you are completely in control.
Got it.
Everything that I'm saying is not taking control. You are taking control. You can hear my voice washing over you, and everything that I'm saying, you are allowing yourself to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel yourself relaxing in your seat. And then you can give your arms a quick little shake out, relax your arms, let them hang at your side. You have to actually do that.
Oh, I'm just like, how long are we going to do this for? It's 8:30 at night. Okay. Seth, do you record meditations?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So close your eyes.
Okay.
I want you to picture an animal, a
Mm-hmm.
small animal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Not a cat or a dog. What are you picturing?
Ladybug.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Is the ladybug moving or is it standing still?
Laying down.
Okay. Now I want you to bring both of your arms out, shoulder height. There you go. And just hold them there. And then turn your palms upward towards the ceiling. Now, in your right hand, I want you to imagine that I'm placing a book. All right. What color is the book?
Blue.
Okay. So you can feel the book, you can feel the weight of it. And then I'm going to put another book on top of that one. And you can feel the difference in the weight, and you can feel the books slowly bringing your hand down towards the floor. And then I'm going to add another book on top of those. And now you're thinking, I'm not sure if I can hold these books up for very much longer. This is starting to get pretty heavy. And in your other hand, I want you to imagine that I have a piece of white string and I tie it around one of your fingers. And attached to that string is a helium balloon.
Mm-hmm.
Just one balloon, but you can feel a slight tug upwards. Then I take another string and I tie it to another one of your fingers. And that has 3 helium balloons attached to it. Can you feel the slight pull up on your other hand?
No.
Okay, you wouldn't be very easy to.
I think next live show we should do this.
Sure, yeah.
You should try to
You
hypnotize me.
you would not be very easy to hypnotize then.
What I don't okay, we don't need to go down this whole I'm sure you're going to cut this out, but like how you're not an expert. This is not your scope.
Sure it is. I was a manager at a magic store for a year.
Okay. That makes you an expert in hypnotism.
No, but hypnotism is self-hypnotism.
That's
All of it
true.
is all of it is suggestibility.
And true, and it could be part of like meditation and
Hmm.
picturing. Where was the little bug gonna come back into play?
Nope, it was just to get you to focus.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I was picturing a ladybug with a little blanket on it
Yeah, I
in
mean, I
bed.
went for small animals, so I was thinking like a bunny.
Oh, well, you said
You
any
went for
small
real
animal.
small. No, but it's just to get you to focus.
Sure, sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
So anyway, you do that to a crowd of people,
Yes.
and out of 20 of them, 3 people actually start to like raise and lower their different hands.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean, to
because
be
they're
honest with
feeling it.
you, I could have done it, but I
Hmm.
actively wasn't because I wanted
Well,
to spite you.
you didn't want to be hypnotized.
Correct.
But
I
if
was
you
like,
wanted to be hypnotized, you could allow yourself to be hypnotized.
you could.
Yep.
See, I want to be put into a trance. Maybe.
And you could be if you allowed yourself to be.
Can you be hypnotized?
Me? I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't want to be. I would be skeptical.
Interesting.
Anyway.
Who can hypnotize each other faster at our next live show?
So anyway, Missy hypnotizes Chris
Yeah.
against his will. He thinks it's to quit cigarettes, but it's not. It's to find out what his like darkest, deepest memory is so that she can trap him where he feels helpless.
Right.
Because that's where he'll stay once the brain transplant happens.
Right.
So how did you feel about that scene apart from the tea and everything? Were you like,
Well,
what is going on?
no, no, I got what she was putting down, but like I said, I had a hard time focusing because the sound was really, really,
Yeah.
really bothering me. And
Yeah.
I was squirming, and Aunt's like, "Stop it. This is important." And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna punch something." And then when the whole key scene, and he like and Chris catches on, and
Yeah.
Missy goes for the teacup with the spoon. I was like, not again, because
Yeah.
that's how we get into the trance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew.
So the sunken place is interesting because it's like you have no voice and you can only
Yeah.
kind of like sit by and watch what's happening with your life and with your body, and like someone else is taking control. And so we talked about him a little bit, but how did you feel about Rod, Lil Rel Howery?
Yeah. When I think of Little Rel Howery, when I volunteered at ATX TV Festival, I was on his premiere of his show, and I couldn't remember. I think it was in 2017. He had a show premiering, and so I worked that panel, and so that's how I know him from. Like I know him, and I was like, oh my god, Little Rel. He was funny. He was like the supportive best friend. Like I said, the comic relief. I felt like he was the one. Like you said, we could take like a breath when he was around.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was a good bestie counterpart. How did you feel about him?
I think if you don't know who Jordan Peele is going into this, it
Mm-hmm.
might feel really odd, his character,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't match the rest of
The
the tone
tone.
of the
Sure.
movie, right? Like I said, there's
Right.
funny stuff throughout. Like I think Chris is funny. I think Dean is
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, but
I
it's a
think all the
different
old
kind of.
rich white people, right? Yeah, totally
It's different.
different.
It's so different. Yeah.
Rod is
So
like
different.
yelling, and
It's a different movie like when Rod is on in
yeah,
a
when
way.
he
It
goes to the
feels that way.
police
Yeah.
and he's, they all gather to laugh at him, and yeah, I really appreciated when he sent the text of the dog to
Mhm.
Chris. He was like, "She
Mhm.
got drunk with a beer bottle." Yeah, that was pretty great. But I love him. I think he's great. And the ending, I I didn't I don't know. I don't love like everything that he says. Kind of like it feels like too much of a departure. Kind of.
I agree. And
Yeah.
did you watch the alternate ending?
I did. I did.
which was like the original ending,
It was the original ending.
which when the movie ended, I looked at Aunt and I was like, I don't know. And again, this is like we just ended.
Yeah.
Let's recap. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like it would have been like a harder punch if Chris actually gets arrested and then he's put in prison for all of this and like the system fucking sucks, right?
Yeah.
And then we watch the alternate ending and that's like exactly what happens. And I was like, oh, I think I would have liked that ending better, even though I don't want that to be, but it was like ending on the joke kind of didn't sit right with me.
Yeah.
And I get we wanted to end it so Chris was a hero and I like that part of it. I think it was just like, I told you not to go to that house.
Right.
How'd you
Yeah. I
feel?
mean, I love the ending. I love that he kills all of them,
Well,
you
yes.
know?
Yes.
This is
Sure.
so I know you haven't seen this movie, but if you're a big horror fan, this is like an inverted in terms of class. It's an inversion of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where these unsuspecting people come into this trap, and it's not just that horrible things happen, but it's like that the entire area kind of knows about it and you can't escape it, right? Because everyone's in on it, kind of a thing. It's just that instead of being the backwoods of Texas, this is, you know, super rich people in upstate New York, right? And so I like that he goes through and kills everybody. And you're rooting for him to like do so, and you feel relief like with each person. You feel relief like in a different way because each person can kind of get him in a different way, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do feel bad for Georgina, and I feel bad for Walter, who ends up shooting himself. But I like that he doesn't go to prison. I like that he gets away. I just don't like that it becomes kind of like jokey.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just because it ended on, it was so dark
Yeah.
and then we just end on the joke. And I think that's where it kind of, what do you think about the alternate ending though, which was the original? Do you think that was
I think it was too much. I think he made the right
too
choice.
much? Yeah.
Yeah. I think where the happy medium is that when he is choking out Rose, you see the police lights, you go through all of that stuff in your head in like half a second. Because when
Yeah.
you see the police lights come up and he is a black man choking out a white woman
Yes.
in the middle of the
Right.
street, you're like,
Right.
oh, they're gonna shoot him. Like
Right.
you go through all of those things, and then it's
Right.
like one last little twist. I think he made the right choice.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah. Right. Yeah.
Really quickly before we move on to the facts of the movie, I did just want to mention, kind of to fortify the whole like red alchemist thing. In the beginning, when Jeremy kidnaps Dre, he's wearing like a Knights Templar helmet. And when Chris leaves in his car, the Knight's helmet is sitting in the seat next to him. I never understood that. I never knew why that was happening. And then during the
Wow.
silent auction, Jordan Peele said, he was like, in my mind, they're not paying with money, they're paying with ancient artifacts. And that's why like all their
Mm.
cards have like different symbols that like means different things. And
I was confused about that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So truly, if you've only seen Get Out once, read up on as much of that stuff as you can and then go in and rewatch it. Trust me, it's a completely different experience.
Wow.
So this movie was made for $4.5 million. Goes out to make 255.4 at the box office.
Wow.
We
That's
talked
awesome.
about Moonlight was 1.5 million and made like 60 something, right? I mean,
Wow.
yeah, I know. 4.5. It's a crazy, crazy smash hit. This has 98 on Rotten Tomatoes, 4.2 on Letterboxd, 85 on Metacritic, and they only took 23 days to film this. Isn't that crazy?
Gosh, these movies.
3 weekends.
Right.
Yeah. Jordan Peele went on to become the 4th ever Black nominee for the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay, and he became the first ever winner.
Nice.
Yeah.
But also, wow.
Well, right. All of those things where it's like, oh,
like,
cool. You
but then
stop
you're
and you're
like,
like, oh, not
oh,
cool.
not
Yeah.
cool, actually.
Not cool.
No, not cool.
So we asked some friends on Twitter what they thought. Carlo, host of the movie podcast The Movie Loot, at Thief CGT, said, I think the high expectations got to me a bit. Don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I didn't feel it was as transcendental as some people were making it up to be. Now, if we're talking about Us, that one is a masterpiece.
Ooh. Well,
Yeah.
maybe he needs to look into what we talked about. Might change
It's
his
possible.
perspective a little bit.
It's possible. Carlo might be having the same thing I had.
Mm-hmm.
Erica at Oh Hi Erica.
Oh, hi, Erica. That's fun.
She says, hell yes. All in caps.
Sweet.
Okay, I love this and all that Jordan Peele does, but it took me so long to see because that image of Daniel Kaluuya I saw before, and his expression was so horrific to me that I was scared to watch it. Of course, I did eventually, and I love it. Paul Muad'Dib at Trigraptor.
Trigraptor.
Remember the whole big debacle?
Oh, I remember.
Hey, shout out to Paul. He just had their first kid.
Hey, Mazel, Paul.
Yeah. Shout out
That's
to
cool.
Baby Raptor.
Baby Paul.
Baby Paul. He says, beyond the deservedly much acclaimed commentary on racial dynamics, it's also a really solid sci-fi horror. And I think that element gets a little overlooked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I agree. I think the two can go hand in hand, but I agree. I think that this is great sci-fi.
Yeah, definitely.
The Right Honorable Sir Not So Great Dictator at NS Great Dictator. This guy's back, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Long name.
Mm-hmm.
Loved the fact that once he got his break, he did everything right to escape. No running upstairs or hiding in one of those slatted closets. When you hit someone over the head, make sure they're dead. Until he gave the old lady a lift, but we can gloss over that.
Well, we were working out an internal battle there. Right.
And Jamila, at Jamila Brownie, she says, I remember seeing the trailer with my mom and being like, wow, what is that? Comedy? Horror? Is it a black film, quote unquote? We knew we had to see it. She did betray me and secretly saw it with my sister before me. I know.
Jamila, I'm so sorry.
This film was what made me decide to look into horror films.
Wow.
Part of the reason I'd always been reluctant was fear, and part of it was, like many, I had this terrible notion that they lacked depth. But the discussion that arose after seeing this film in particular among other Black people was so much fun to participate in. I love drawing themes and rich meaning from media, and Get Out does both. It entertains while it educates. I'm really glad Peele's achievement is recognized both commercially and critically.
Well said, Jamila.
Very well said. Sorry that your mom betrayed you.
I know. So sorry about that. I went with your sister.
That was another thing Peele mentioned. He was like, how do I balance talking about the horrors that Black people live through every day while making a fun movie? And what a great point. And if you look at it just from that, it's like, very job well done. So now we go to a segment of the show where we hear from people that we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3-Star, 5-Star. These are reviews from letterboxd.com. We start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating that we can give a film. And we go all the way up to a 5-star review, which is the highest rating that you can give a film. And the half-star review, do you have any requests or ideas?
Ooh, how about you just do British?
I'll try to sound like a real stodgy old white British dude.
That works. Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Kermit's back.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Get out. How do British people talk? Get out was like trying to solve a black
That's not. I don't know what that is.
All right, how does Mr. Bean talk? How does the king talk? Get out was like trying to solve a black Rubik's Cube in the dark. I mean, I love mysteries, but this one was a total head scratcher. The horror social commentary combo was as confusing as my grandma's Facebook posts. Overall, it was meh.
That was good, Seth. When people say meh,
You don't love it.
well, I have to say, I used to say that, and it used to drive me crazy.
Oh,
He's
okay.
like, do not comment with meh. Because I just be like, meh. It is fun to say, but as a person receiving it, I don't like it.
People don't like to receive the meh.
No, but it's fun to say. How you doing? Meh. Shrug
This
a little
guy
shoulder.
says, solving a black Rubik's Cube in the dark.
Yeah.
I don't think it's all that complicated, but...
No, it's not. No.
3-star review says, racial horror! With an exclamation point.
Is that it?
No.
Oh, okay.
They were just really excited about that.
Yeah.
So, racial horror, or racial satire, as every little thing in this movie had some relevance to racial insecurities. Funny in a lot of ways, but could also be a bit too much of a good thing. At least it brought something fresh to the horror genre, putting the black man's cliches together with the horror cliches the way it did. Not a bad job at all by Jordan Peele in his directorial debut.
Yeah.
And that's another good point. Debut. First time out the gate.
Debut.
Good job.
It's good. Good job.
5-star review says, smart, fresh, hilarious, and dripping with tension and atmosphere. Get Out makes for a rock-solid directorial debut from Jordan Peele, with great performances, excellent writing and direction, and a bold, perfectly handled balance between chilling, effective horror and balls-to-the-wall social satire on liberal racism. Yeah.
Man, these are good reviews.
I've never understood that phrase, balls to the wall. I don't know what that means.
Well, I don't either, actually.
Is that a swimming thing?
A swimming thing?
Well, you know how like when you start swimming, you're supposed to be like touching the wall. As I'm saying this, it's just all falling apart in my head. I just don't know why you would ever. I don't know what this means.
If you were to do the backstroke, you are not starting with your literal belt on the wall. Don't die on me, Seth. Don't die on me right now.
Correct.
We'll come back to this.
I still don't understand it, but I like this review.
Yeah, it means maximum effort or power. There's no in between.
How?
I don't know. I didn't come up with it. So
I'm just saying. Okay, well, yeah. I can't imagine being in that position and thinking, this is powerful. Like, I don't know. How do you even
Yeah.
do that? It's weird. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. I get
Anyway,
where they were going with it, though.
sure.
Yeah.
So, what do you rate in this movie? Is it a movie?
I am somewhere in between a film and a movie.
Okay.
The Love Child is this.
Mm.
I think I'm giving this 4.5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It started again. These movies are surprising me. I start with one rating and then well, after tonight and discussing it, I'm like, I have to raise this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to raise it. So I'm giving it 4.5 stars. It was really well done. It captured my attention. I didn't think it was too long. I enjoyed the story. And then when we got to the sci-fi part, I was like, oh, I'm
Mm.
here for this. And now just talking with you about it and understanding even more in depth of what Jordan Peele was doing, much respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, four
Wow.
and a half
All
stars.
right.
And I would definitely recommend it. Definitely
Yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah.
And I would tell people it's not that scary. Of course it's scary, but it's not. You can watch it before bed. I think
Right. This isn't a
it's
jump
a.
scare kind of freak you out, make you, tuck your feet under the blankets kind of a
It might. I
movie.
mean, depending. I don't. Maybe people will be scared of it, or maybe listen. You might have nightmares that you're not funny to Jordan Peele, and that to me is
That's so much scarier.
and not even Jordan Peele, but also Keegan Michael Key. Like both of them just
Right.
looked at me and were like, "You're not
Oh my
funny."
God.
Like I was in the middle
I
of an improv scene. It was awful, and it involved a table, and I had to go underneath. It was awful. And Good Morning America. Anyway, Seth,
Yeah,
what are you rating? Or are
that
you
would have been the
recommending?
end of me. I agree. Like that's
Done.
yeah.
Not worthy. Put me out to pasture.
I think that this is a movie. I think prior to this experience, I would have said it was a 3-star movie. And I
Mm-hmm.
am now saying that this is a 4-star movie.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Nice.
a new appreciation for it. I think the script is the best part and the performances are good. It's funny, it's interesting, and I think it's a movie that every white person should see.
Yeah.
And yeah, I recommend it.
Good job, Seth.
Hey, if you would recommend us, why don't you give us a rating and a review
I
wherever
just
you're
want to know,
listening?
like, what do we have to do to get you to leave us a review?
I don't know. I don't know.
I will
Send it.
personally send you a message back, but you have to tell me where I can reach you.
Send us an email and tell us what we personally need to do to get you to leave a review.
I'm so heated. I'm like, every week I ask, and we have gotten none. We know you're listening.
Well, that's
If you
what's
need,
messed up.
I
Like, look,
know.
guys, you're not doing a good job of hiding. We see the downloads, all right? Our downloads are through the roof,
Mm,
metaphorically. I think we're at like 33 reviews on iTunes. We
Apple
know there's more than
Podcasts.
33 of you. Oh, yeah. Oops, whatever. Hey, shout out to Overcast. If you're listening to us on Overcast,
Hey, how are
shout out to
you?
you. Shout out if you're listening in South America. What's up?
Hello to you.
We
Hi.
see you
Leave us a
guys.
review.
Also, sometimes the Philippines. Hello, if you're listening over
Hi.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah, really all over the place. Those are the two that primarily stick out to me, where I'm like, who's listening here?
that's great. I
Yeah.
like that.
You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Maybe you don't know what Patreon is. Are you ready? Here's how it works. You sign up, you put in your payment info. It's $5 a month. You get access to all of our bonus episodes. Spotify has partnered with Patreon so that you don't even need to download the Patreon app to listen. You get a bonus feed right into your Spotify. Boom, you can listen to it wherever, whenever. It's great. You also get access to our Patreon only Discord. And maybe you don't know what that is either. You know what that is? It's like a message board, it's like a group chat. And we talk, and you can ask us questions, and you can even vote on upcoming movies, upcoming themes. for an entire month. It's pretty cool, right?
Yes.
Kind of like next week's episode. This is our first ever patron voted movie. Michelle, are you excited?
I am excited. I can't believe it's time.
I know. I'm excited because it's like 2 movies out of this month that I didn't pick. The pressure is off.
Wow. You're
Yeah.
okay with that? You're okay with a little shift of power?
Always.
Not always. Come on now.
I would love
Come
to
on.
be just in the background. No one
No
knows
way,
me or
Seth.
sees me.
That is
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You could sure, Gian. Okay, what are we watching?
So the patrons submitted different movies, and then from what was submitted, movies were voted on. That's how it works. You should join
Okay.
in, and then you can submit your movies. So next week, we are talking about Set It Off from 1996. It is directed by F. Gary Gray. It's 123 minutes, and it is currently streaming on Tubi.
Cool. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Thanks, patrons.
We've got Queen Latifah, Jada Pinkett Smith, Vivica A. Fox, Kimberly Elise, Blair Underwood. Yeah, I haven't seen this movie since I was probably like 13 or 14 years old.
Awesome.
So I'm pretty excited.
This is going to be great.
Yeah,
I can't wait to hear why they chose this.
Yeah, this will be like a first time watch for both of us, which might be the first episode ever where that's happened. Like I said, I've seen it, but I don't remember. Like I don't have this logged on Letterboxd because I don't remember enough about it to have it logged. So it's a new day for movie friends, folks.
Wow, 2024.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Seth. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad you got over your little thing with Get Out, and you're like, let me revisit. And I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I could like talk to people about this now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This show is it's a gift, you know, to be able to spend time focusing on one movie at a time, talking about it, talking with other people, strangers on the internet, friends on the internet, our patrons. Like it's good.
It's really just for me, friends in person, because now mostly my conversations involve this show. I'm just being honest with you.
Okay.
I've like now become like, what are you watching, Michelle? What movies have you seen? And then when I say a movie's good, you know what their response is? Well, coming from you, it must really be good.
Wow. You are.
Can you believe that?
I can. You're a trusted voice now.
Wow.
Move over, Ebert.
Move over.
Here comes Rubenstein.
Here comes Mitchums.
Meh.
Meh.
Till next week, when we're talking about Set It Off. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Vicora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks!